Welcome back, boys and girls. It is Mrs. Garcia's Monday, and I'm so happy to see you back again. Okay, let's look at the standards that we're going to be using today in our lesson. The text that we're going to be reading today is informational, so all of our standards are RI. The first one is 1.1, which is refer to details and examples in a text when explaining what the text says, explicitly and making inferences. We're going to determine the main idea by looking at those key details, okay, that support the main idea. We're also going to be determining the meaning of academic and domain-specific words, which we also did last week. And we're going to explain how an author, remember that author is the person that writes the text, okay, uses reasons and evidence, look at that, more evidence again, to support that particular point in the text. So what will you be able to do by the end of this lesson? Okay, you're going to be able to answer this question. Why do you think the Florida state government has 3 branches? Okay, so that's going to be part of your task by the end of the lesson that you have to tell your teacher, okay, so you can get a grade. Make sure you have some paper and pencil so you can write down by the end of this lesson what you need to tell your teacher. So this is a reading strategy that we're going to be using, guys, today, this one right here, okay? And sometimes when we read, we only look at words. And remember when we were looking at about like chunk it and all of that, that is also part. We don't only look at pictures for one strategy. We have to look at it with curiosity and interest, okay? Always think about these questions. Wow, I never knew that. Or why did the author wanted me to know about that? That is having curiosity and interest, and I know all of you have that in spades, okay? So let's get started. Let's read our passage, okay? Like the federal government, Florida's state government has 3 branches or parts. So how many? 3. The legislative branch makes laws. That's our first one, the legislative branch, okay, and they make laws. The executive branch makes sure that the laws are put into place and obeyed. So that is our next branch, the executive branch. The judicial branch makes sure that the laws, okay, are fair and agree with the state constitution. No one branch has more power than the other, so they all have equal power. And again, the 3 branches are legislative, executive, and judicial. So let's learn about the legislative branch. What do they do specifically? Do you know who decides how long your school day lasts? Florida's legislature makes sure laws, including ones that affect your school, okay, they are the ones that are in charge of making it. The legislature is also called the legislative or lawmaking branch of government. Okay, so the legislature branch is the one that makes all of our laws, okay? So they're ones that make sure that we, in Florida specifically, follow those laws. Florida's legislature is made up of Senate and a House of Representatives. It has 40 senators and 120 representatives. Senators are elected to 4-year terms, and representatives are elected to 2-year terms. So there are 3 words that I want you guys to think about here. We have the word senator, the word representative, and the word elected, okay? And I'm going to talk about the word elected, okay? So the word elected means that somebody chose them to be in that position, okay? So people over 18 years old, okay, voted for those senators and representatives for our state of Florida. So they were elected by the people. Now, senator, again, is one of the what? Parts of the legislative branch, and the representatives is the other part. The legislature meets every year in March at the state capitol in Tallahassee. Members of the legislators discuss issues and meet with citizens. They also write, sponsor, and vote on bills. Ooh, there's a word right here. Bills. Do you think they're talking about money? A bill is a plan for a new law. If both the Houses and Senate vote for a bill, it is sent to the executive branch. The state governor then looks over the bill and decides whether to sign it. So they were not talking about bills like money, they were talking about a plan for a new law. So the same way when you plan to do a new game or something, you guys set out rules, a bill is that, a plan to set a new law for a state of Florida. Okay, so we learn about what the legislative branch does, okay, who makes the legislative branch, and we learn what the word bill means, which is what? A plan for a new law. Let's continue. So, the executive branch. Florida's executive branch puts new laws in place. It also makes sure that they are followed. Okay, that's our next branch, okay? They are the ones that puts the new law in place, but they make sure that they are followed. This branch is run by the state governor, who is elected to a 4-year term. So again, the same as senators and representatives, the governor is also what? Elected, okay? People vote, okay, for that position. We choose our governor for the state of Florida. Part of the governor's job is to suggest bills, okay, to the legislator, okay, which is the other branch that we just read about. The legislature votes on whether to pass each bill. The governor can then sign it into law or veto it. What is that word? Veto. To veto means to reject a bill. Woo, we learned another new word, guys. Veto. To reject a bill. So the governor decides, and we read this earlier, okay, whether or not to pass the bill. So if he says yes, then it turns into a law. If he says no to that bill, then he vetoes it. I would like to veto. A veto bill goes back to the legislator, okay? If 2/3 of the House and Senate vote for the vetoed, okay, bill, it becomes a law. So again, even if the governor says no and it goes back to the legislative branch, okay, the House of Representatives and the Senate can vote. And a third, 3 parts, okay, of them say yes, the law can still pass even after the fact that the governor said no. Then remember that we said no branch has more power than the other. The governor also writes Florida's budget. There's another word here, budget, which is a plan for spending money. I think you all have heard that from your parents. We have a budget and we can go over our budget, okay? So the governor plans for that budget to know how much he or she is going to spend, okay, in our state. It says how tax money will be spent on government services like education, safety, and roads. Every year, the governor sends a new budget to the legislator for approval. So again, the governor is part of the executive branch, and when he writes the new budget, he has to pass it to who? The legislative branch for approval. Okay, let's continue. Our last branch, the judicial branch. Florida's judicial branch makes sure that Florida's laws are fair. It sees that they follow the state's constitution. It also punishes people for breaking the law by sending them to jail, making them pay a fine, or making them do community work. This sounds familiar. Do you think who do you think is part of the judicial branch? Let's see if you're right. The judicial branch has 2 levels of courts, the high courts and the lower courts. So how many courts do the judicial branch have? 2. The Florida Supreme Court is the highest court in the state. It has 7 judges or justices who are chosen by the governor. The justices hear arguments about the fairness of Florida's laws. The dozen of lower courts handle cases about a law being broken or a disagreement between people or groups. Each of Florida's 67 counties has a county court, and there are also 20 circuit courts. Circuit courts hold jury trials in which a group of citizens decides whether a person accused of a crime is found guilty or not guilty. Was your guess right? Did you guess judges? Yes, guys, judges are part of the judicial branch, okay? And remember, we said there are two levels of courts. The high, which is what? The ones chosen by the governor, and then the other judges, which we also have what? Yes, they're the ones that decide whether or not a person that has been accused of a crime are guilty or not. Sometimes people do not like the decision that a lower court has made, and they can try their case again by taking it to the district courts of appeal. To appeal a case means to try it again. We learn a new word, appeal. Appeal is a case means to try it again. Okay, so let's see what is our assignment, okay, for today. Okay, your assignment is this. You have to tell me what is the meaning of the word branch as it is used in paragraph 1. Okay, you have to tell your teacher what are the 3 branches of Florida's government. How does the author support the main idea of the text? And you have 4 options, okay? I'm going to read them to you, and remember to write down the right answer. A, by naming the 3 branches of government and explaining why the legislative branch is the most important. B, by explaining why each state needs 3 branches of government. C, by listing the 3 branches of government and describing their purposes. Or D, by describing how the executive branch of government is the most important. Okay, guys, hopefully you wrote down your assignments, okay? And I can't wait to see you back on Wednesday. Adios.